Yo, what's up guys? It's Tyler, Running Bear Central. We're gonna do a little walkthrough on a dent. I should have left the paint on the truck, but the paint was so bad that you wouldn't have been able to see the dent anyway. So I'm gonna use this permanent marker, we're gonna draw it out. I'm gonna explain how the metal works, what happens to it, and do a little pull and try to get it back out, get it straight. Remember, you always wanna get the metal work as straight as you can to make the Bondo work easy. Sorry, mud or body filler. Always want the metal work the straightest, makes the Bondo or the filler easy to sand and get straight. So right here we have actually a lot of dents. It's pretty messed up. If you see this bedside on a full-size truck, I've actually stripped the whole thing. I'm gonna Bondo the whole thing once I metal work this whole thing, but that video will be way too long right now. So right now, we're just gonna feel, and I got this major dent. And you can see I got a couple of such deep dents that the paint didn't even come off. I sanded this whole thing with 40 grit on a buffer. It knocks it right off, shaves it right off. You don't create a lot of heat, which won't warp the panel. And so you can see it didn't take this off. Still got this little dimple of paint. I'll have to take the grinder in here, a little whiz wheel, and get that out before we can put the stud puller on it. But right here, I'm gonna draw this little dent out. We've got a pretty massive kink right here, not a little kink, but it goes something like this. And I tell people, you wanna feel more than you sand. So that's a pretty good of what we have for a dent. And so what happens is when this gets hit, the metal's got to go somewhere. As you can see, the metal stops at every point, at every end. The metal's stopped. It's crinked. It's or not crinked. It's you know, it's got a bend to it, but it's held in position. It's welded. It's not going to go anywhere until it's ripped, which is very uncommon for it to rip. And so when this metal gets hit, it finds a spot on the panel to go. And so what happens is here it got hit, and it also depends. Did it get hit this way? Because if it got hit this way, it's going to push more metal this way, which it does feel like it got hit this way. But also, it's hard to tell because there's so many dents here in this section, and if it got hit straight on, it could have pushed metal here, and it could have pushed metal here. And these high spots, because my X's are going to be the high spots. This is all high. All this is high. This is all high. There's a little dinger right there. This is still low right here. So, but this is all high. And so actually what will happen is if this gets hit hard enough, this will make this high right here. So this will actually start to go high. And this will start oil canning if this is still high. So what you'll need to do to get this to stop oil canning so that you can actually Bondo it, if this is still high, it won't stop oil canning until this is pounded back down to where it should be. Which, it feels like it's pretty good, but it's also hard to tell because there's a big old dent right here. And that's a pretty sharp dent. Same thing here. These oil cans might not come to life until I start fixing stuff like this. When I fix that dent, there's so much, because that's hit so hard that it's pulling the metal in. So if the metal's being pulled in, it's not gonna want an oil can. But the second I pull this out, it's gonna want an oil can. So what I'm gonna do, we got the shark, I got 110 volt shark, I got the ground hooked up, and we're gonna pull some of this and we're gonna hammer it. We're gonna try to push it back in the spot. And I don't wanna do too long a video, I wanna keep it short, and I really don't wanna edit it too much. So we're gonna keep it short. I'm gonna just try to get this metal straight. I'm gonna show you the basics of getting it done. Now, this has a couple different options on the shark. You got this slide hammer option that you can screw onto here. I don't really like that too much. I mean, I do and I don't. Each of them have their uses. And you got this pull bar you can stick through here, arc it, and pull on it. Lots of times you pull way too much metal. You don't need to pull a bunch of metal. You actually, all you're doing is guiding the metal. All we're gonna do is we're gonna guide the metal by telling it which way to pull as we hammer around and work this dent out. And you got to realize the weight of your hammer is important. If you got a big hammer, I know someone that just straightens metal with just a sledgehammer, which is fine because he has lots of control. He just barely taps the panel and it sends that metal to wherever he's pulling. And a lot of people use hammers like this size and they gotta hit really hard. But you know, it just all depends on what kind of tools you're using. So I'm gonna start, it doesn't really matter where we're gonna start in this dent. I think I'm gonna start right here. See, it's gonna oil can on me a little bit. I can already tell because it's wanting to be bouncy. And it might come up. That really just happened. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. I like staying about 3 or 4 inches away from where I'm pulling, because what will happen if I arc here and I hit here and I'm so close to it, it's gonna pull a big old knot right here next to where I'm pulling. We don't want that, because then once you get your metal straight, you're gonna have a big old dent that you're gonna have to knock back down, and it's harder to get down than it is to pull up. So stay about 3, 4 inches away. Okay, it's already wanting to, oh, there's a little oil can. So we got, and that'll go away, and it'll come back, it'll go away, it'll come back, it'll go away as we pull on this. Just always feel more. Why is that doing that? This thing will eat some power. All right, let's see if this works now. Feel before you hammer, it's important. If you are going to go close to your stud where you're hammering, just be gentle. See, all I'm doing is I'm telling the metal which way to go. And don't just feel the same old section. Get in there, feel the whole thing. Even if I hammer here, we can move that metal here. That's not a problem. This metal will move a very long ways. So I think this dent got hit from here because I have a huge crown. So, and I should have said that. What's going on is when this gets hit, you create a crown. And so if you don't fix this right, you'll never bond to it properly because it's going to have a crown. You're going to fill this in, fill it in, fill it in, and then you're going to have these huge high spots here and here. And so what you're going to do to make it level is you're going to over putty it or over bondo it, and you're going to have a big old lump just to make this spot level. So that's a pretty good reason to get your metal work straight. See, I pulled too hard there, did exactly what I said not to do, and so now there's a big old dimple there. And if you really need to move the metal, you could take, you know, there's multiple different ends of hammers. You could take the sharper end. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I could take the circlip. But you could take, I like using this end, and you can push the metal. So right now, it's hard to tell. This area is so messed up that I really have to finish the whole thing off, like this guy here, so that I can feel this properly. Because my feelers on my fingers are grabbing everything. And so it's hard to stay focused in this one section here without feeling this, 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 and this. Got a little low there, and just light. See, now look, this is getting pretty weak here. And what we'll do on another video is, this has got a shrinking end on it right here. And we'll actually, maybe I can walk you guys through how I like to shrink stuff and what I've felt is good for shrinking. Instead of coming through and beating on this edge with this hammer, making tight little dents to tighten it up, we can shock the metal, get it cool, get it hot, get it moved around and cool it, and you shock it and it'll stay in its place. So, and that'll harden it up too. But for right now, I got what looks like we got a little low spot right here. See, I didn't do too many pulls on this, and this thing's feeling pretty good. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 15 pulls on it. And you got to remember, to also get rid of this oil can, is they put, every panel is going to have a roll to it. And what I mean by that is a roll like this. And that is so that you can keep strengthening the panel as well. If every panel was straight like this, it would want to either go in or go out if it was to get hit. Yeah, it might be nice from the factory because it was made like that, but the second it was disturbed, hit, bumped, kid runs into this Tykes toy, it's going to either want to go in or go out. I think it'd be hard to get it perfect again. So they have this roll to them, let alone the body lines, but you know, every panel you look at on a vehicle has a roll to it. Keep in mind, when you're doing this, find your high spots, because you're doing two things at once at that point. If you can, yes, you're pulling out your lows, but if you can find your high spots and hammer your high spots, then you're doing two jobs at one time. All right, guys, I think we're gonna call it quits at that. This thing feels pretty straight. I'm going to work on the rest of it. I'm going to get this thing bondoed up tonight. Hopefully I'm going to bondo this thing from one end to the other. We're going to fix the edges. We're going to finish it up, bondo it, get it straight, and hopefully within the next 10, 12 hours we're going to have this thing in primer. So I appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, hints, tips, things you don't agree with, things you do agree with, much needed, much appreciated, and just keep them flowing in for me. Running Bear Central. Thank you guys.